Right. Morning, morning, all, morning, morning. See, we have here morning, Roxanne. Thursday blessings to you as well. Morning, Rookman. Terrence Swan, morning to you, sir. Neil Francois, always present. Morning, sir. Arlene Lewis, morning to you. Gerald Pascal, Manswell, morning. J Dimple 66, morning to you. Okay. See here. Oh, that person look a lot like you, Neil. Morning, Cyril. Priscilla Holder, morning to you. Denise Bramble, morning. Tona Walcott, morning. Althea, morning to you. Glenn Richardson, morning. Carol Boyce, John, morning to you. Tona Walcott, Deborah Duranti, Leon Graves, morning to all of you guys. Natalie F. Desh Rubin, morning. Desh. Earl Turpin, morning, sir. Marlene Panton, morning to you, Marlene. Pia Shutters, morning. Morning, Carol. It's overcast by me, so I don't know what it's looking like on your side. Morning, Diane. Adriana Alexis, morning. Clayton Smith, morning to you. John Edwards, morning. Merlene West, morning to you. Morning, Allison. Allison Boyce. Denise Coggins, morning to you. Morning, Judy. Let's see who else. Allison Samuel, morning, Allison. Denise Cummings, morning to you. Andel George, morning. Ashlyn Robertson, morning to you as well. Let's see something here. What else we have on this side? Felix Hospitalis, morning to you. Ria Ed, proud to be Trini. Morning, guys. Rutrude, morning. Joy Ragunanan, morning, Joy. Carlos Fonili, morning, my friend. Jennifer Nathan, morning to you as well. Right, 6:43. How time flies. Yeah, this was one of those mornings. This sleep was sweet, so you oversleep morning. Yeah. And the phone alarm didn't really do much. But anyway, Ruth Branton, morning to you. Sarah Richards, morning, Sarah. Cheryl Seeley. Right, so let me jump right into it given the time. So yesterday, so we had the opening to my friend from Tobago, JB Harper. I don't know if JB still listens to me because JB used to be a PNM and now he gone full TPP. In fact, he told me he would have voted for me in the PNM internal election. So I don't know what would have caused that 180-degree turn. But anyway, morning to you, JB. JB always posting up stuff with the TPP about that. While PNM turning sod, the TPP cutting ribbons. Well, yesterday ribbons were cut on this side, JB, for the opening of the Grandy Hospital. This is the fourth hospital that Dr. Keith Rowley has had the pleasure of commissioning since he became, well, in the last 9 years. So that is 3 more than Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, and he still has another one to go. The Central Block, Port Spain General. I passed by there yesterday, and it is progressing nicely. And based on the artist rendition that I saw being advertised on Facebook, it was earlier this week or last week, it looks really, really nice. I mean, all of the trappings of a modern hospital that Port Spain General so badly needed. So again, I would say in advance, congratulations to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, led by Dr. Rowley, for taking the initiative to construct. So while the UNC supporters beating the chest about the Cuba Children's Hospital, and Mrs. Prasad Bisesa built Cuba Children's Hospital. It's the only hospital that she built in her 5 years, 3 months and 14 days as Prime Minister. But when you point out to them, but look, Keith Rowley would have built 5 in his 10 years. I'll tell you, well, how much you expect Kamala to build five hospital in 5 years? How much things you think she could have done in 1, 2? So they are waking up to the reality that, contrary to the narrative they like to push, that this government is doing nothing for the 9 years, name one thing PPNM do, name one thing Rowley do. The evidence is in their face. It is in their face, big and bold, so they could no longer deny it as much as they may want to. The excuse that, well, they're living in South, so they don't know what's happening in the East and in the North, so that's why they could say. So they're only looking at what's taking place in South, or they're living in East, and they don't go down South, so they're not seeing what this government is doing around the country. Well, it is becoming evident now, and kudos to all of the ministries and government agencies that have started to advertise the things that they are doing. So for people who not seeing it in the physical, they could see it virtually through the various social media platforms now. So the excuse is now 5 years was not enough for Mrs. Prasad Bisesa to do everything. So all the things that Rowley do, he had 9 years, but Kamala only had 5. So how much things are they expected to do? That is a cop-out. It is ridiculous. And then, so the crown jewel in the claims of all the things Mrs. Prasad Bisesa do that, or did, that warrants her earning the title of the best prime minister ever in the country's history, of course, is the 106 schools that they keep bandying about the place. That is their, I don't know, that seems like to be their biggest achievement. But you ask them where these 106 schools is, they could never tell you. But all they know, that is a talking point that they were handed. We build 106 schools. Gopi Singh said, Kamala said, this one said, that one said. Even though they tend to get it mixed up sometimes. So I saw, I was listening to Kunji a couple of days ago on that Waste of Time program, Professor Misinformation and Captain Clueless. And he called in to say that, what was it? On Juliet's program, where he was saying they built 125 schools. So it was 106 all the time, now it's gone to 125. Well, I guess some of the 106 had children. Yeah, the schools start having children now, so it's gone to 125. Okay. Yes, as Michael says, signed, sealed, and delivered. So the people of, well, East Trinidad on that side now have a spanking new hospital, and I heard the minister mention some of the facilities that they have there, including now MRI machine, 2 CT scans, and they will also be incorporating the old Sangre Grandy Hospital as well, which is commendable because I know Sangre Grandy Hospital is one that has received over the years kudos for the quality of service, the quality of healthcare that persons receive. Most persons who go to Grandy, even if they're not from the area, will tell you that the service is second to none. In fact, I recall seeing sometime persons posting up videos on Facebook talking about even the food that you get there is top quality food. People like to complain about hospital food, but even the meals that they get there is top notch. So we can only hope to see even better service once the government is able to get the right staff. And that is the critical thing, that the staff is important. Persons who are dedicated to the job, to their profession, and it's not just about the money. It's not a work. So it's something to pay the bills, so you could treat people poorly, treat the patients poorly, and stuff. And then when there's poor quality, poor service, and things like what happened with the death of these babies takes place, there are calls for the minister to resign. Not the persons who have direct responsibility for the day-to-day operations and management of the hospital. Because as I always say, it seems like Terence Yalsing, when he's sitting in his office, he's supposed to have a crystal ball that he could look into every 5 minutes to see what's happening at every single health facility in the country. So if somebody goes to the health center in Mayaro at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever time, and they get poor service and something happens untoward, blame the minister. Because while he was in his bed sleeping at that hour, he should have sensed that this person was receiving poor service, right? Or that somebody made a call for an ambulance in an emergency and the ambulance took 2 hours to come. Fire the minister for that. Yes, he's supposed to submit his resignation, but the prime minister should fire him because the minister should have known that, and he should have had a standby ambulance at the ministry that he could run downstairs, jump in the ambulance, and go to wherever it is when he realized 1 hour passed and the GMR didn't reach yet. Yeah, he's supposed to do that. Or he's supposed to have a fleet of ambulances where he can, and a dispatch facility in his office, so he can pick up the phone and say, hey, somebody called for ambulance, but they didn't get a response yet from the company. So dispatch one from Mount Hope and Senate, so, or dispatch one from Arima. He said that's how the minister is supposed to do. Our healthcare system is supposed to be 100% perfect. Any issues with crime, if the police are doing their work, Mr. Hines supposed to have his crystal ball in his office to see, right? And he has his trusty steed downstairs. As I always say, he puts on his Gideon boots and khaki suit, jump on, yeah, and ride to wherever. Yeah, giddy up, Sheriff Hines in town. Yeah, and he jumped behind the horse and he engaged in a shootout. That's what he's supposed to do. And while he engaged in that shootout there, he's supposed to sense, hey, look how murder going to take place. So, all right, I'm coming back. Jump on the horse, giddy up, and he run to that. And he stopped that murder. And then while he there, on route to stop that murder, he had another one taking place up in Arima, in Port of Spain, right? So he had to split himself, and that's what is expected. That making sense. So everybody calling for resignation. But anyway, I'm gonna play a oldie for you. Yeah, but this never gets old. Always a classic, and I always like to play it because I'm aware that from time to time we get new listeners, new subscribers, many of them who subscribe to the other party and may not have, not familiar with it. So Sarah says, put on his cape. Yes, Sarah. Bandy, he's Superman. But he's omnipresent, so he's everywhere at all times. This one. Let me just see if I get this here. Give me 1 sec. I had saved that. One second, folks. Let me just get this here. So we should be good to go then. Let me see. I think this is it. Let's see if this is it. Let me see. Is this it? It should be. Okay, let's see. Oh boy, I don't know what happened. I had this thing saved, Okay, series. All right, we'll come back to that just now. Let me touch on something else. This one. Right, so the Prime Minister yesterday referenced or spoke about the death of the babies, and it seems the numbers continue to rise. Based on what I was hearing in the news last night, it has now gone from 8 to allegedly, supposedly 11, because more and more parents are coming forward to say, well, I suspect that my child or my children may have died from the very same thing. So they're running a timeline from mid to late February up until the end of March, I think, and will be April thereabout. So the figure has now reached 11, and who knows where it could go after that, right? But I just wanted to touch on something for the people who are calling for the minister's head and want the minister to resign, notwithstanding the fact that the investigation is still ongoing, but they're not satisfied about that. that the minister should have resigned immediately upon the story breaking in the news. His resignation should have been reported in the same newscast, right? That's that follow protocol. I listened yesterday to Darren Marcel was playing a clip where the minister was answering questions in the Senate, and you had Wade Mark and his foolishness and repeating this dotishness about when is the minister going to submit his resignation and can he inform the House. And by no means do I wish to trivialize these unfortunate deaths, right? But just to show you, it's not an uncommon occurrence. It has also happened outside of Trinidad within the region. So let me just get into it one time. Yeah, reading this article from the Guardian in Jamaica, 20th of October, 2015. Jamaica battles hospital infections that have killed 18 babies in 3 months. Jamaica authorities are struggling to cope with a hospital infection which has killed 18 babies in 3 months, the Health Ministry announced. The government was forced to make a public statement giving details of the death of the infants, who were mostly premature babies, after the parent of one child spoke to the local media. Dr. Alison Nicholson, consultant medical microbiologist at the University Hospital of the West Indies, one of the hospitals affected, urged the public not to panic. She said the deaths were caused by 2 different bacterial infections acquired in hospital since July, and these were both common infections, Klebsiella and Serratia. She said there is a growing panic in the public because of the way this came out, but we are not panicking in the hospital. This is something we have to deal with from time to time, and we are doing everything we can to stop the outbreak. We have closed the nursery and considered closing down the neonatal unit, but the babies need neonatal support. If it is withdrawn, they will die, so we have to keep the unit open. So they considered closing down the unit. Based on what I understand in Trinidad here, our neonatal unit would have been shut down and efforts underway to properly sanitize. Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson told a press conference in Kingston that he only learned of the situation last Friday, the same day one of the parents of the babies talked to the media. And the public were only informed of the outbreak when he made his statement on Tuesday. Ferguson said a team of specialists had been appointed to investigate the outbreaks and to try to stop the spread of the infections. Right? So this was 2015, Jamaica. We go in again, 2016, Jamaica. 2016, right, the next year. 26 babies died. Contradictory reports on the number of babies who died from infection at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital. In a stunning twist to the recent tragic deaths of newborns at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital, Sunday Gleaner has received a copy of a report requested of and submitted by VJH officials, which showed that 26 babies had in fact died at the same institution between August and September this year. So this is separate and apart from the 18 that I just mentioned to you in 2015, right? You had another outbreak in 2016, Jamaica, 26 babies died. Far more than these 7 deaths that were initially reported when the Sunday Gleaner broke the story on October 9th, and the 4 deaths that were acknowledged by the Ministry of Health at a press conference days later. This represents an approximate 550% increase from what the ministry is reporting. The babies reportedly died after contracting an infection from their mothers during delivery at the hospital. After the story broke, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton called for an investigation into the incident and convened a committee which was charged to review the cluster of cases of Group B streptococcus infections at the VJH, said to be the cause of deaths, and the report of the findings. The Sunday Gleaner was told that the VJH was requested to prepare a report on the incident, which was, in fact, made available to the committee before they prepared the official report that was released to the press on October 13th. However, contrary to the VJH report, which outlined an increase in the number of babies diagnosed with GBS and a significant increase in those dying from it, identifying 26 deaths in 2 months alone, the official report released by the committee only spoke of 8 babies being infected, 4 of whom it said died. So that's 2 incidents in Jamaica. Going again, 2019, another incident in Jamaica. Jamaica is the same place that Ralph Maraj tells the Prime Minister he should write to Andrew Holness to get ideas on how to deal with crime, right? So this first incident that I mentioned to you just now, well, the second one, with Christopher Tufton, the Prime Minister was Andrew Holness. Going again, if this thing would open. 16 babies die at Falmouth Hospital. The deaths took place between May 26, 2018 and January 25, 2019. No postmortem has been conducted on the bodies of the 16 babies. Denise Pearl, whose baby died on November 29, 2018, has not been able to ascertain the cause of her baby's death. They keep promising that the autopsy will be done, but until now, I cannot find out why my baby died. Another mother who asked not to be named said a postmortem that was scheduled for her child on January 25th did not take place. You see, Princess Wedderburn, Chief Operating Officer at the hospital, did not return calls that were placed to her office on Thursday, while Ken Grant, Chairman of the hospital's management committee, said he was unaware of the deaths. Right, so 16, 2019, Jamaica. And then you see, so, right, there was another one that took place last year. Not last year, sorry, 2022, again under Christopher Tufton. Let me see if I find that one here. Right, 12 babies die from bacterial infection at Victoria Jubilee Hospital. That Victoria Jubilee Hospital again, same hospital from 2016, 2022. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says that of the 16 babies infected as a result of a bacterial outbreak at Victoria Jubilee Hospital in Kingston, in July, 12 babies have died and not dozens, as has been erroneously reported. The outbreak, which was discovered in July, saw 7 babies dying at the end of that month. 2 died in August and another 2 in September and 1 in October. Dr. Tufton told the Jamaica Observer on Wednesday that he received a report in late August that there had been a bacterial outbreak in the neonatal intensive care unit at Victoria Jubilee Hospital and that the region had gone in with the hospital's senior clinicians to assess and to respond. And he noted that after the first set of babies passed away in July, efforts had been continued to try to control the situation. Unfortunately, deaths continued through October. So July, August, September, October, 4 months. The health minister said he instructed PAHO experts be called in to do an assessment, which was done, and he's now awaiting the report from PAHO. Our Minister of Health here has also done similar. Tufton lamented that one of the real challenges facing the hospital is the ratio of staff to babies. The ratio ideally in that environment should be 1 to 2, and it is hovering around 1 to 7. So 1 to 8 because of the shortage of the specialist nurses for treating with that situation within the environment. Right. So as 4 instances in Jamaica, 2 of which took place under, or 3 under Christopher Tufton as Minister of Health. He's still the Minister of Health. He's still the Minister of Health after 3 incidents where several babies died. Okay. Let me just get this last one here. Again, as I said, I'm not trying to trivialize. Condolences to the families, the parents of those babies, and I am of the view that they deserve compensation. How that would come about, of course, you know, there will be persons who would be juxtaposing that against the Paria incident, because if the government comes now and says, okay, we're going to compensate these parents, people will say, so I'm to the Paria divers, I'm to the family of the divers. They don't deserve compensation. Look how long that happened. This thing just happened, and all they just come. You see the dilemma the government finds itself in? This is NBC News. 2 more premature babies who were in the neonatal intensive care unit at a New Jersey hospital died last week, bringing to 3 the number who have died from a bacterial outbreak at the facility in September. 2 babies who were infected 6 weeks ago at the University Hospital in Newark died last week, but the New Jersey Department of Health said it was not notified of the deaths until Monday. This prompted the health department to send an inspection team to the hospital on Tuesday. A department survey team is on site today to investigate the hospital's internal notification policies, governance, and other factors that relate to the reporting of deaths of cases during an outbreak. A total of 4 infants at the facility were exposed to the Acinetobacter baumannii, a hospital-acquired infection, and the first child died in late September. The baby who survived was discharged from the hospital at the end of October. There have been no new cases in the unit since October, a hospital spokesman said. State health officials offered corrective steps at the hospital last month that included the hiring of a certified infection control practitioner. This happened in New Jersey back in 2018. And there are a number of other instances, but we don't have the time this morning to go through. But just to show you, regionally, internationally, in New Jersey, where it is, they're supposed to have the best, one of the countries where you have the best healthcare, right? We don't talk about that, but we need to get rid of Terrence Davidson. So bypass everybody else. They always like to say the buck stops with the prime minister. So where the buck started, so you pass on everybody who had direct responsibility first, right? Pass all of them, and when it reach the minister, right, the buck stops with him, so he should resign. But the persons who are responsible for the day-to-day operations and management of the neonatal unit, and the hospital itself, no, we just get them a slap on the wrist, right? I maintain, if they're saying that in fact there's 11 babies died, after the first, the second, the third, somebody didn't think there's something wrong here? Something wrong, we need to check this out. It took 11, and who knows, the number probably going to rise above that. Eh? But anyway, as more and more parents come forward, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And the Prime Minister yesterday would have expressed his sorrow, commiserated with the family, but you know, people, some of them on that side, the other side, still want to chastise the Prime Minister for that. He said he would leave no stone unturned in finding out what happened. And rather than commend the Prime Minister for that here, yeah, just like how we say he wasn't closing on Petrotrin. Yeah, just like how we say with the divers, the pariah divers. You can't trust this man. Not every say start up by running. All kind of foolishness. I'm just waiting now for them to call for a commission of inquiry. Remember with the pariah divers, Dr. Rowley's first response was to put together a specialist team to look into that. People say, nah, that ain't good enough. Well, they're going and bring in all your own people and pay them money, bribe them to deliver a report that is favorable to pariah. We want a commission of inquiry. They got the commission of inquiry. It cost millions of dollars, they vex. Everybody knows commissions of inquiry are very expensive, but that didn't stop them from calling for it, right? They called for it. And now they say, this commission inquiry costs so much million, 15 million, and they find it hard to get the families of the divers money. It shouldn't have cost 15 million. But because all you like couture and bacchanal and propaganda, right, and still not satisfied with the outcome. Because the inquiry should have said is pariah and pariah alone is liable for what happened, not LMCS. And, okay. Anyway, I really wanted to play that song. Anyway, I'll find it back just now. Yes. Right, let me get this. It's not right. Well, I know from time to time, I was had to play the second minutes. Right.
This has been my view over the last 4 days. And it is something I will miss because by the time you get this video, I will be back in Trinidad because I don't have a habit of posting videos when I'm overseas. Because we know that the Kobos and the cockroach just waiting for you to leave so that they could pounce on your home and pounce on your family. And the reason I'm showing you this is that I have spent the last 4 days here, and not one day have I had to worry about leaving the door open, about poor governance, about infrastructure that does not work. Because watch this, everything in this place functions. Everything. You go far from the city, you go close to the city, they are taking care of everything. The grass is cut, the drains are clean, the flowers are being watered, every single thing functions here. But in Trinidad and Tobago, where you and I are from, nothing works. And the reason for that is because people continue to allow the nonsense. And let us look at some of the things which are of concern to me this morning. Number one, and you have to excuse the construction in the back. That's the fellas in the back, they're doing some work. Let me just show you. Right, that's the guys down there doing some stuff there. Right, so number one, 8 children, and I will call it murder because to me that is the way I see it. 8 children literally murdered due to negligence. And again, that is where I see, because the allegation is that, bacterial infection or whatever it is. After one child, they were supposed to be able to pick that up. They were supposed to be able to assess and say, here, what in lockdown, we have an issue. But in Trinidad and Tobago, no. Wait for one child, two children, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And still, the health minister remains in his position. There is absolutely no consequences for what is taking place because the health minister is untouchable. Similar to the Minister of National Security. Hundreds of people died under his tenure, but the Prime Minister still has confidence in him. But why do we allow it? You see, in Miami here, and all over the world as well, decisions are being made where poor leaders are basically the options. Because when you look at Biden and you look at Trump being the options here for the upcoming election, it is beyond laughable. But not only that, when you look at what we have in Trinidad and Tobago as an option as well, where we have Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and you have Rowley, that is even more of a laughable option because the fact is that on one side, you have a woman who has lost 11 elections, yet it is you have people who support her. And the reason they support her is primarily because of race or religion. That is the reality of it. There's no other sensible explanation for people wanting Kamala Prasad-Bissessar to remain there. And when you look at Keith Rowley, I mean, one have to be nuts, something have to be sick in your, with your thinking for you to want to continue to have Rowley here, especially the condition in which the country is. Forget crime. I mean, crime is a serious issue, but there are so many other things. For example, when you look at his accountability, where money is concerned, with all the trips that he made. For example, when he went to collect his doctorate, was that a personal trip? And it is a personal trip because the fact is that here happening, you did not collect a doctorate for the country, you collected that for yourself, and that is personal. But absolutely no accountability as far as I'm aware in terms of the breakdown of showing, where the money has gone, what has been spent, etc. Because 400,000 went poof, and we as citizens continue to sit down and talk and do nothing. The time has come where people like myself, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't know if this may be my last election, again involved in my last election, because we are at an age right now where 40, 50 years, 60 years, disease picks up on us, and that's the end of it. You're gone.
All right, enough of him. Enough of him. I only played that just to comment quickly on two issues. One, with respect to, he's in Miami. I think he's back by now. I'm given this impression that, everything over there is so perfect that he's been there for 4 days and he's not had to worry about closing, about locking his door, about poor governance, about infrastructure, because everything's perfect over there, right? You see, these guys just figured they could fool everybody. They could fool the people who don't travel. But for those of us who do, and who know differently. So while he's over there in Miami talking about the 4 days that he's been there, he didn't have to worry about locking his door and so on. All right, you may not have had to worry about locking your door, but you know what you would have had to worry about? That when you leave your hotel or wherever it is that you're staying, wherever you're going, if you're going to the mall to shop, that you could end up being the casualty of a mass shooting. That if you're going to the grocery or Walmart or Publix or any one of these, Costco or whatever, you could be the victim of a mass shooting. That if you decided to go to a mosque while you were over there, because you happen to be there on a Friday and you have to go to Juma or whatever it is, you could be the victim of a mass shooting. That's the things that you need to be concerned about, right? That if you're over there and you drop your children to school, and by the time you reach back home, you turn on the television and you're seeing a story telling you that there was a mass shooting at your children's school, and then you get a call shortly after saying that your child was one of the casualties. These are the things that persons over there in a developed country have to be concerned about. You see, at least here, if we go to the mall and we hear a gunshot, we know more than likely it is a targeted killing. Somebody went to the mall to kill somebody who in the mall. They didn't come there with a AR-15 or some other type of high-powered gun. Decided just going to shoot people at random until the authorities, the police, reach to shoot them. We don't have to worry about that. But he wouldn't talk about those things, right? He wouldn't talk about those things. He's happy that he could go there and he don't have to worry about locking his door. You have persons in the US who will complain. They order stuff on Amazon. It is delivered. They're not at home. And then you have people driving around called porch pirates who just waiting for the Amazon truck to pull out, and then they jump out the car or the van or whatever it is, run up on your porch or in front of your door and take up your package and go on with it with no regard. They have no idea what is in it, but they just pick it up, and you see it all the time. All the time. Two of these stations, the main news stations that I look at is WSVN and Local 10 News, which are two Florida-based news stations. So I see all the time the things that are happening. I always make the point that when I go to Florida, 2-3 times a year, I-75 from Coral Springs, Sample Road, the end of Sample Road, going all the way down to Oakland Boulevard. Right now, they're doing major construction works and major road works on the I-75. But it have big potholes on the highway. And I'm saying to myself, but what madness is this? How you could have potholes on a highway? You're not supposed to slow down, because in order to negotiate a pothole, you either have to go around it somehow if you can, or you have to slow down and go through it. You can't be doing that on a highway and have no traffic light there, unless it is that is you have some heavy traffic taking place. Then you could negotiate it, but otherwise that. But this is where they have the money. Right now, Congress is negotiating to try to figure out how much hundreds of millions or billions they should send to Israel and send to Ukraine to fight wars. But back home, you have infrastructure issues. But he's trying to tell you, you don't have to worry about the infrastructure over there. He in Miami and everything good, everything is perfect. Really? Since 2022, there's a stretch of road. Don't know if those of you who may know Coral Springs, that there's a road that is called is a main thoroughfare called University Drive. It's like a highway. It's like the equivalent of our Churchill Roosevelt Highway or one of them, right? And a stretch between Sample Road and Wiles Road. Since 2022, they're doing repair works. Since 2022, we're in 2024, the same stretch of road. Last time I went there back in March, they reached the point of putting they're doing landscaping, putting trees or these palm trees between the two sides of the road. But on the right-hand side of the road, big potholes. Big potholes. And it's only because I don't like to get up early, because I said, one of these next time, I will try and get up early and just take a walk out to University Drive and that area there and take some pictures. So you could actually see the type of potholes that it have. The type of potholes. And just remember, over there you have property tax. Some of the highest rates in the US, property tax, people paying their property tax, and they have plenty houses over there, right? They're paying, but not just property tax, you have sales tax and all the other taxes that they pay. And yet still, 2 years now, and that side of the road ain't touched yet. But listen to this clown, and he will give you the impression that you're good and everything is perfect. They like to talk about the healthcare system over there, but wouldn't acknowledge the fact that the reason why the healthcare system over there is better than here is because you have to pay for it. If we had to pay for the healthcare system here in the public sector, then the same service that you get when you go to St. Clair Medical and West Shore and St. Augustine Private and these other private institutions, you would get at what is now the public health sector, because you would have to pay for it. There was a time not so long ago when Mount Hope was a pay for hospital. I remember those days in the early 2000s. Going there when I had my first allergic reaction to ibuprofen, and end up there. Thank goodness I had my health insurance with the bank. But that was a paid hospital, and people used to complain that it's only when Mr. Manning made it public, and you no longer had to pay, and then people started to complain about the quality of service that you were getting there, because it is now overwhelmed, because everybody wants to go. But he wouldn't talk about them things and always bad-mouthing the country. This is the thing that upsets me with these people. You're quick to do a lie, to bad-mouth the country and say nothing works in Trinidad and nothing works. But when the things work, they will never do a live and talk about that. No, because I ain't want to give Rowley and them no props. So anything good that happens, I will ignore. You feel yesterday this hospital opened. You're complaining about the state of healthcare in Trinidad and Tobago. But listen to all of the facilities that Mr. Singh mentioned that they now have up there. 2 CT scans, you could do MRIs and a number of other things up in Sangre Grandy Hospital, right? And of course, and that hospital, that facility, according to Mr. Singh, cost $850 million. Not the 1-point-something billion that Mrs. Prasad borrowed from the Chinese to build the Cuba Children's Hospital. So Keith Rowley has increased the number of beds, hospital beds in this country, right, by 5 times or more than what Mrs. Prasad Bisasa left. 5 times or more. You feel they will talk about that? You feel they will praise the government and say, yes, well done, clap? No. Instead, they will use the opportunity to talk about when are they opening the Cuba hospital fully? When they fully commissioned in the Cuba hospital? They will talk about that because they don't want to accept 4 hospitals already built by, and the next one on the way. And based on how advanced what I saw yesterday, construction of the central block is, I expect that it will be completed before general election of 2025. So that's another ribbon for Dr. Rowley to cut. More facilities on the way to improve the health sector. But aside from construction, 35 million, I think it was allocated to improve the state of the physical infrastructure of San Fernando Hospital, Mount Hope Hospital, and the other aspects of the Port of Spain General Hospital that currently serve the public. So when Central Block is finished, they could now focus on improving. But I would have seen some improvements. I used to hate to go to Port of Spain General Hospital, that block that they demolished. I used to hate to go there. It used to look terrible, especially when you go inside the ward to see people, and these just the whole layout of me was upsetting. I hated to go there. And when I was in school and my grandmother was there when her leg was amputated, I used to hate to go there. But when my sister was there in 2022, before she died, the area in which she was, down in the back by where the maternity ward is, they have because of the construction that was taking place, they would have had this new area. And a nice air-conditioned ward. And it was clean, the layout was nice, and so on. Much improved, but they will never talk about that. They will never talk about that. And these are the facilities that the government is providing for the citizens. But one person will go, or 2 people will go to the hospital and have a bad experience, and we will hear all about that. But the people who go and have very good experiences and have no complaints, they will never do a live and talk about that and say how good it was. Or come on social media, come on Facebook and say that I went to the hospital and this was my experience and that. Kudos to those who would have gone to Grandy Hospital, the old hospital. I would have gotten excellent service. And they were so impressed that they saw it fit to let the public know, hey, we have at least one hospital that providing you with excellent service. He ain't going to talk about that, right? Badmouth the country? Yes, give that impression. But anyway, and then coming to talk now about the Prime Minister's trips. Where was he between 2010 to 2015? You want to question them trips? The hypocrisy of Munilal and them. So come and talk about the Prime Minister's trips. 10 million in 3 years. I know we get nothing from that. That one trip that I read for you all on Tuesday, back in 2016, where the Prime Minister was able to get $1 billion back from BP, and in addition to that, get them to agree to pay 12.5% in royalties over 2018 to 2020, even though, as they indicated to him, they were not legally obligated to pay any royalties to the government based on the sweetheart concessions that they got from the People's Partnership. But Keith Rowley was able to negotiate that on one of his trips to London to meet with BP executives. One of the trips for which he would have been criticized by the People's Partnership and the support, well, the UNC and the supporters. Rowley only traveling, he now become Prime Minister and he done jet setting already, and where he going to do and thing and all of that. But he came back with $1 billion, and that $1 billion grew to $3 and eventually $11 billion. Today, we are receiving that 12.5% royalty, which I read for you from the article. BP did not have to pay until 2027. We are in 2024. But you feel they will do a live to commend Keith Rowley for that? No, condemn him because he's $10 million and he went and collected a doctorate, which was a private trip. At least he didn't wet lease a jumbo jet to go and collect it. When Mrs. Prasad Bisasa went to New York when she was Prime Minister to collect an award, wasn't that a private trip? Anybody can tell us how much was spent on that trip when she went to collect her award? And it wasn't even from a university. Some women's group decided to honor her and give her an award. How much that cost? Mr. Munilal could tell us. He interested to know? Where is that information? But don't worry. Don't worry. The last time they pulled a stunt like this was when they were putting out the copies and the pictures of the document that parliamentarians get when it is they purchase their new vehicle, showing how much taxes are written off and so on from the Comptroller of Accounts or the Board of Inland Revenue, whichever department it is, right? And that is what resulted in David Lee getting locked up, charged for fraud and misbehavior in public office the last time they wanted to pull that stunt. So we let them know that two could play that game. So since all they want to go and dig up, and all they want to tell us and Mulila saying they will inquire into more trips, well, we will take that. So I will deal with that today. Right? I will deal with that today. So I will be forwarding Freedom of Information request documents to Office of the Prime Minister to get details of all Mrs. Prasad-Vissasa's trips, what it cost. And I want to know too, whether or not the Office of the Prime Minister paid any money to Barry Padarat to reimburse Kamala Prasad-Vissasa for her credit card. You see that 135,000? We will get to the bottom of that. Because she said that was that when she went away, she swiped card, government card ain't working. Right? Government card ain't working. So she had to use her personal credit card and they paid the money to Padarat to reimburse her. Where we go find out. They want to play that game? No problem. Two could play that. Right? So, let me encourage them. Go ahead, continue. Yes, the Wendell is saying about the hire of the charter flight to Brazil. Charter flight, whole jumbo jet, Brazil, India, China, Australia. Yeah, all of these places. Every time she took a jumbo jet to go to these places, the plane could hold 153 people, 200 and something people, but she going with 40 and 50 people. All these seats empty. And the taxpayers had to pay for those seats. Because remember, Caribbean Airlines should have been using that plane to be transporting people wherever and getting paid for each seat. So for every seat that was empty, the government had to pay for that. You, Mr. Taxpayer, had to pay for that. What are you talking about that? Well, 10 million in 3 years. But she spent $6.1 million in helicopter ride to go from these Queen's Park Savannah to San Fernando, where she lived. Right? Palm East, wherever. Philippines. $6.1 million. They ain't talking about that. But it's scandalous and scandalous. How much money the trip to South Africa, how much money spent for that, right? When she extended invitation to all the prime ministers of the region. Yeah, what now? I go in Nelson Mandela funeral and I taken a whole jumbo jet from Cal. So I have room. You want to go? No problem. And I'll pick you up. I'll pick you up in Grandy Adams Airport. What time, Prime Minister? You want me to pick you up? All right, no problem. We going again. Call Jamaica. Right. Yeah, you want to go? No problem. We'll pick you up. And so we go in hopping island to island. Well, here what now? You could meet us in Guyana. Yeah, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia and the Prime Minister of Grenada, they said they will meet us in Guyana, so we wouldn't have to make all them stops now. So if you could make it, that would be good. Yeah? All right, well, we'll pick you up in Guyana, right? Okay. So that's what she's doing. So the taxpayers of this country paid for all the prime ministers of the region to go to fly to South Africa to Nelson Mandela's funeral. And the only payment they had to make was Mrs. Prasad-Vissasa sit down up front in business class, and each prime minister had to come and sit down next to her and sing her praises and pay obeisance to her and say how grateful they were to her for giving them this opportunity and for her generosity. That's the only payment that they had to make. But in terms of cash, dollars and cents, is you, Joe taxpayer, pay for that. You pay for that. But you feel the supporters and Munilal and they will talk about that. No, because they figure everybody memory short. Or like the Chaguanas West constituency executive, according to Dinesh Rambali, fully dunce. No. We are not of the waterfront ilk. And we will remind you all of these things, right? You will be reminded. Nonsense. Anyway. So let me get something else. Let me get this thing in. I think I found what it is I wanted to play. As I say, it's a oldie, but to me, I could never, I never get tired of listening to it. Let me see if I get it here. No. This is for the benefit of people like Anna Munsami, aka Miss Santa Cruz. So look at this here. Right. Let's connect this.
Speaker, it was not my intention to join the debate at this time. But after hearing
the member for Grandy East, and the misinformation that he has spewed in this chamber, I had a responsibility to this chamber and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago to correct some of the bad news that he has been spreading. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have in my hand here a document that I got from the Planning Division of the Ministry of Education. In other words, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this document is authentic. The member for Grandy East is claiming that under his administration, they built, or let me use this word, they started and completed 106 schools. Mr. Deputy Speaker, that is furthest from the truth. Very far from the truth. He is claiming that they started and completed 69 ECC centers. He is claiming that they started and completed 31 primary schools. And he is claiming that they have started and completed 6 secondary schools. Mr. Deputy Speaker, just let me give you the facts. Yes, let me give you the facts. Listen to him carefully. Something really jumped out at me. He is claiming that the Lafayette RC School was 22% complete under his stewardship. The Lafayette RC School falls under my constituency. Not a blade of grass has been moved where that is concerned. Absolutely nothing has been done. Yet he is claiming 22% completion. Absolutely nothing.
Shame. Shame, not a blade of grass.
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
It has been heard. Again, proceed, Member for Rima.
Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the member for Grandy East is claiming that they started and completed a number of primary schools. Those of us who travel along the bus route, and we would know as we approach Page Junction, that school that has been there for a number of years, the Trinidad Government Primary School, this minister is claiming that they started and they built that school. How far from the truth could we get? But let me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, talk about what is the truth where this is concerned. And I'm starting with the ECC centers. The Arangwes ECC Center was a project started by the PNM administration, not by his administration. The Bon Air ECC Center was started by the PNM administration. The Castle Field ECC Center was another one that was started by the PNM administration. The La Goya ECC Center, a project started by the PNM administration. The Clark Rochard Center, again, was started by PNM administration. The Kush ECC Center, a project started by the PNM administration. The Edinburgh South ECC Center, a project started by the PNM administration. The Egypt Trace ECC Center, again started by the PNM administration. The Golconda ECC Center, PNM administration. The Harmony Hall ECC Center, started by the PNM administration. The La Hoqueta South ECC Center, again started by the PNM administration. The Lisa Gardens project was started by the PNM administration. The Lower Kubuto ECC Center, again started by the PNM administration. The Maloney ECC Center, and I'm sure the Minister of Planning knows about this one, is a project that was started by the PNM administration, and it was opened in January 2010 before they came into office.
Oh my. Oh my. Shame.
The March Hill ECC
Members,
Center
please.
is a project that was started by the PNM administration. The Marval ECC Center, a project started by the PNM administration. This was completed in May 2010 before the UNC came into office. The Overput Gardens ECC Center, again, this project was started by the PNM administration, and this school was opened in May 2010. The Wostonia ECC Center was started by the PNM administration. It was completed and operational under the PNM administration. The Retrench ECC Center, again a project started by the PNM administration. St. Augustine North, the project started and completed under the People's National Movement.
You should be ashamed. Come on, Tim, you're too grown for that.
One second, and before I remark, again, standing order 53 stands. The crosstalk, cross the chamber on both sides, please. This is, proceed.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, of the 69 ECC centers that the member for Grandy East claimed to have been started and completed, 36 was started under the PNM administration. Let's move on.
Mr. Speaker, I will rise on a matter of clarification.
No,
Where can he go where he get that source of information from?
Unless the member.
Gopi Singh gets up to ask, can he quote the source where he got that information from? But the man said it at the start. He said he got it from the planning department in the Ministry of Education. Tim, a department that you should be familiar with because you were the Minister of Education. You never hear about that department, Tim? You weren't paying attention, Tim? At the start, the man quoted his source before he started to talk. Come now, man. So they say 106. Which included ECC e-centers, well, as Mr. Garcia would have just told us, 36 out of 106. Right? So we're down to 70. We're down to 70. He ain't done yet.
Sway, unless it's a standing order. Either or. Proceed.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now move on to the primary schools. The Trinidad Government Private School, which I mentioned just now, you said that school was started under the UNC. That school has been in existence for quite some time. The Penal Rock Road SDMS was a project started under the PNM administration. The Palo Seco Government Primary School was a project started by the PNM administration. The Lengua Presbyterian School, a project started by the PNM administration. The Arima New Government School, a school that resides in my constituency, a school that I'm intimately involved in, that was started by the PNM administration.
Come on.
The Monkey Tongue Government Primary School was started by a PNM administration. The Enterprise Government Primary School started by a PNM administration. The Manzanella Nareva GPS, and this is a school that is close to my heart because I started my teaching career at the North Manzanella Government School. When that school was disestablished, the Manzanella Nareva Government Primary School was established under a PNM administration.
Wow.
The Roselle RC School, another important school that was started by the PNM administration.
Oh my God.
The Egypt Village Government Primary School, a project started by the PNM administration. The Point Commander RC School started by the PNM administration. And as I see the Minister of Finance enter, the Permanent RC School was started by the PNM administration. Penal Quidam Government Primary School, a project started by the PNM administration. The Durham Village SDMS was started by the PNM administration. Of the 31 schools that claimed by the member for County East, 13 of these schools were started by the PNM administration.
We down to 57.
Come on,
From 107.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I now bring to the attention of this House the schools in the secondary sector. Marbella South was a project that was completed by the PNM administration in May 2010.
May 2010.
It was completed in May 2010. The Arangres North Secondary School, a project started by the PNM administration. The Couva West Government Secondary School, a project started by the PNM administration. The Princestown East Secondary School, a project started by the PNM administration. And this one is important. This one is important, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
This one is important, Tim.
The Five Rivers Secondary School. I taught in that school for 10 years. I taught woodwork. Remember that? That was started by the PNM administration. The St. Augustine Secondary School, this underwent retrofitting and outfitting, and this was done by a PNM administration. In other words, Mr. Deputy Speaker, not one secondary school was started under the UNC administration.
Shame. That's a shame.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is really strange that a former Minister of Education who occupied such an important portfolio could stand before this Parliament chamber and give so much untruths that it really makes me shiver.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on 48, 4 and 6. 48, 4 and 6.
So they went from we built it to we open it. Yeah, all they started, remember Mr. Manning started that between 2002 to 2010. All of that, you hear all them schools, ECC centers and so on, Mr. Manning built in addition to all the other infrastructure that he built before he called an early election in 2010. And had he not called that election and he had gone on to complete his full term, all of those schools would have been finished. But you see, their logic, well, yeah, all they started to know, but when we came in and we finished it, so therefore we will take ownership. Yeah, but when you all came in, the Grand Bazaar interchange wasn't completed yet. But it was completed under you all. That traffic light Christmas tree could never understand the sense of that Suraj Rambachan puts up there. So you're going to take responsibility for that interchange. When you all came in, the Arangwes interchange was well underway. It started under Mr. Manning but finished under them. So you take responsibility for that. The Cooper Children's Hospital. You all that was started under you all. Almost it was about that 95% completion, but they run to cut ribbon because Mrs. Prasad Bisesa wanted her name to be on the plaque and not Dr. Rowley's name when it was commissioned. Even though there was still some construction taking place, so it was finished under this administration. So this government should take responsibility for that hospital based on all their logic. But that is their logic, you know. When we came in, all these, and understand, when the PNM said they started a project, we're not talking about how the UNC they start a project, right? You put some blocks, some red sand inside, and then you take a shovel, you toss the sand, you take some photos, and you say, right, we turn sod, so we've started the hospital. That is their idea of start. When the PNM says start, it means we went past that stage, we started, the construction stage. So there was something there. Construction had actually started, not turned sod, without any financing in place for the project. right? So you had a photo up. You turn sud with a nice golden shovel and say we start. That is how the UNC starts a project. Under the PNM, what they consider to be start is actual construction, foundation laid, bricks on the ground, workmen on site. That is what they mean by start. Fundamental difference between the two. Right? So when you listen to Tim Gopi sing there, the 106 schools that they claim they built has now been whittled down to probably about 40 something. About 40 something, which includes the early childhood care centers, right? So from time to time, I always feel the need to play that because, as I said, that is one of the greatest achievements they love to hug up. I thought we built 106 schools and she built 106 schools. No, she didn't build 106 schools, right? You all took ownership of a number of schools that were started under the PNM. That was part of the Vision 2020 initiative. And with all of those things that Mr. Manning started and allocated funding for, he still didn't take the exchequer account to $33 billion in overdraft. Let us not forget that. With all of that, with the waterfront that he built, and Napa and Sapa and the Prime Minister's residence and diplomatic center, and all of the different things, the police stations and the health centers, and all these things Mr. Manning built, houses upon houses that they gave out. So when I hear Julian John on Monday talking nonsense about we give out 7,000 keys and all that, yeah, but did you build 7,000 houses? It is on public record. You always say Manning build house. The PNM build a set of house and they give it out. They just have it there. And we will give it out. 100 houses a week. Taking credit for what another government did. All so shameless. Boasting. You never hear them talk. They boast in 106 schools, but you ever hear them talk about how many houses they built? On the 1 or 2 occasions that they talk about it, they can't agree on the figure. So Munila say 8,000, Jolene says 6,000, Kamla might say 5,000, they can't decide. You would think that is something that they could tell you. You would be proud. To me, 5,000 houses is something more to boast about than 106 schools. But they could never boast on that. Because $800 million in ghost houses that we still can't find. And they will talk from now until then, 3 of them on Monday night talking about housing. About terrestrial. The same terrestrial lands that they pay $200 million for. Right? Eden Gardens, that was valued at $52 million, but they pay $175 after they beat down the seller from $200 million. Partly that was the figure. Yeah, the figure of choice, 200. Well, only pay 200 for terrestrial, so we were 200 million for Eden Gardens. And you could go and look it up. Just Google Eden Gardens after Raymond, and there's the video of the interview that he did with Reddy B, where he outlines the fraud that was involved in that transaction. I didn't have the time to play it, right? So, but anyway. Yes, Claudius is saying it reached 125 schools now. Yes, that is what, according to Kunji, it's 125 rebuilt. Okay. Let me address in the interest of time this topic that I was supposed to touch on Tuesday. HSF achieves record total comprehensive income. And on the folks on the other side of the political divide often love to accuse this administration of raiding the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, right? Because this administration would have been, I think, the first to withdraw money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And we know, for those of us in the know and who are not intellectually lazy, we know what the purpose of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund is. Heritage portion of the fund is the savings for future generations, and the stabilization aspect of the fund is so that when it is that there is a significant shortfall in government's revenues vis-a-vis what would have been projected, that the government can go and withdraw some money from the fund to be able to compensate for the shortfall in the income that they would have projected that didn't happen because they would have itemized certain expenditure that shortfall was supposed to cover, right? That's the stabilization part. The law indicates that the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, it must not dip below $1 billion, right? So that we are sure that there would be at least $1 billion for future generations. The predecessor to the HSF was the Interim Revenue Stabilization Fund, which the Pandey administration created for the specific purpose of stabilization. They didn't include the heritage part. It was simply stabilization. So if we have a shortfall in revenue, again, because oil prices or gas prices fall below what we predicted for an extended period of time, we could dip into the savings and still maintain the expenditure that we had proposed, right? The first, we know when this administration came in, what the situation was. The price of oil started to fall precipitously since 2014 under the People's Partnership, such that in 2015, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa came and gave her famous economic state of the economy address in January of 2015, for which she was roundly chastised or criticized by several entities who felt that it was tall on fluff and short on substance. Right? I've read that article for you all before. And she would have indicated that as a result of that, that government had to cut back on expenditure, and they instructed every ministry to reduce their budget by, I think, was 7% or something, so on, whatnot. You remember that, right? So when this administration came in, the oil price continued to fall. You had Joala Rambara, and you have 3 days money left, going and turn off the tap. And I explained what that 3 days was before for you all already. For those of you who are new, I'm sorry, I already discussed that. Maybe I'll come back to it at some other time. So there was, they qualified. Now remember what the Heritage and Stabilization Act at that time, the Fund Act, specified the circumstances under which a withdrawal could be made. So it wasn't just like, oh, we need some money, we're going to take it out. No. You had to wait until the end of the financial year. Determine how much oil energy revenues did you receive. Is the shortfall 10% or more of what you had projected? If the answer is yes, then you could take out money. If the answer is no, you cannot make any withdrawals from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Which is why the People's Partnership was not able to raid the HSF. Because at no point in time, given the prevailing price of oil for most of their term, they did not satisfy that criteria. Now, they had the majority, they could have gone to the parliament and changed the law, amend the law so that they could have taken out, but then they would, I guess, some good wood had they done that, because people would see, hey, or they're going and you take all the money from NGC. You run up the exchequer account, 33 billion in overdraft. You borrow. You pledge the Green Fund and what's the other one? Where I always forget the name of that. All of these things as collateral to increase the overdraft. You use up all, you spend out all the money, and now you want to go after the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Nah, it's too much. So that was the last bastion of savings the country had that they didn't touch. But as I said, they had the majority in Parliament. They could have done it. But the licks that they get, the same way for giving away the lands in Chagaramas, they would get licks for doing that too, so they didn't touch it. But this government, unfortunately, had so to do because of the challenge, the revenue challenge that they faced when they came in 2015, 2016, and then again during COVID, 2020, where monies had to be taken out to provide the income support grant and the salary relief grant, to provide money for persons who needed assistance with their rent and all of these different things. They just forget about that. So anyway, this article came out on the 13th of April. HSF achieves record total comprehensive income. After 3 consecutive years of decline, Trinidad and Tobago's Heritage and Stabilization Fund has turned the tide, registering its first increase in net asset value since fiscal 2019, reaching 5.3 billion in 2023. Now recall when the People's Partnership left office, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund was at about 5.35 billion. It is now at 5.39 billion, so it's about 400 million US more than what it was when they left office in 2010. Notwithstanding the fact that the government would have made withdrawals and that there would have been some volatility in the investment instruments that the fund would have been involved in. But it is still higher today than what it was when they left office, by 400 million US dollars. Despite the withdrawals and so on. So when they're singing this, they're only reading the HSF and reading the HSF. Go and do all the research before talking rubbish, as I had to tell Ms. Santa Cruz this morning. As at the end of September 2023, the fund's net asset value stood at 5,390.2 million, up from 4,712 million at the end of the previous financial year, 2022. Right? So that is an increase of just over 600 million US. In 2022 fiscal year, the HSF incurred a loss of US 913.5 million, marking the first time the Sovereign Wealth Fund experienced a total comprehensive loss since its establishment in 2007. However, in fiscal 2023, the HSF rebounded significantly, recording a total comprehensive income of 496 million, the second highest amount since its inception. Second highest amount since its inception. This information was disclosed in the HSF's annual report for the period ended September 30th, 2023, which was laid in Parliament on Friday by Finance Minister Coleman Booth. Imbert moved that the HSF annual report be referred to the Parliament's Public Accounts Committee. And in fiscal year 2023, the Trinidad and Tobago HSF enjoyed a healthy recovery compared with the previous year when international financial markets faced the largest sell-off in over 3 decades. The forward in the annual report by HSF Chairman Ewart Williams stated. During 2023 fiscal year, there were no withdrawals from the HSF. So the government took out no money, $0.00 from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. As you may recall, in 2022, the government for the first time in, I think it was 14 years, recorded a budget surplus. Remember that? A budget surplus of just over $1 billion, which means we made enough money to satisfy all of our expenditure, and we had an excess of over $1 billion. And as a result of that monies, and this was after the government put monies into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. So as Mr. Imbert would have indicated, had they not put money into the HSF, the budget surplus would have been much higher than what it was. Bear that in mind. First time in 14 years. So it means for the entire time between 2010 to 2015 was only budget deficit, never a surplus. Never a surplus. Because they wanted to spend 63 and $65 billion every year to mamagai people with baby grant, 500 a month to make child. Color me orange, hoop of life sport. Consistent with the board's stance to reduce the downside risk to the fund and similar to the treatment of the government's deposit made in September 2022, the contribution was held in US fixed deposits, and the board continued to evaluate market conditions in order to determine the appropriate time to allocate the HSF's US fixed deposit holding to its approved investment mandates. Now, the rest of this article really goes into the technical aspects of investments, which we don't have time for this morning. Perhaps I will discuss it on another day when I have the time to go into it, because it requires some explanation. So the average Joe, if it is you don't have a background in finance, you wouldn't understand a lot of the jargon here, right? So that was the most salient part that needed to be read. But you notice here and here, nobody in the UNC talk about that, right? But last year, when it was announced that the fund had suffered $913 billion loss, that was the talk of the town. The talk of the town, right? Who didn't talk about it on that side? It's probably because they didn't know what to say. But I was very disappointed in people like Joala Rambaran. Let me get it say. Who sought to give the wrong impression and mislead people with respect to how that loss came about. Let me just see if I find it here, right? Where is this thing? Let me go back this way. Let me read this quickly. The Heritage and Stabilization Fund made a loss of US $913.5 million last year in its recently published annual report. Since its establishment in 2007, this is the first time the Sovereign Wealth Fund has recorded a total comprehensive loss for the year. The US $913.5 million loss recorded last year was a sharp contrast to the US $624 million net profit after tax the HSF made in 2021. The closest the HSF ever came to a loss before last year was US $9.7 million profit made in 2011. The lion's share of the loss incurred this year was as a result of the US $908 million loss recorded from the HSF investments, the annual report revealed. And at the end of the year, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund's net asset value stood at US $4.712 million. Well, $4.712 billion, down from $5.463 billion. The US $163.9 million contribution helped to offset the market value lost in the fund in fiscal year 2022. And for the first quarter of the fiscal year, the HSF has, however, seen a turnaround, and the quarterly investment report October to December 2022 has said. So as at the end of December 2022, the total net asset value of the HSF was $5.1397 million, approximately US $427.3 million higher than the previous quarter's closing value. Where is it? I'm looking for the comments from Joala Rambaran. Let me get it here, right? Let me see here. Ex-Central Bank Governor, Heritage and Stabilization Fund loss disturbing. Former Central Bank Governor Joala Rambaran has described the loss of US $913.5 million incurred by the Heritage and Stabilization Fund in 2022 as a grave fiscal irresponsibility that should disturb us all. May I repeat that? A grave fiscal irresponsibility that should disturb us all. In its annual report issued last week, the HSF revealed that it recorded its first ever loss at a total of US 913 million. Rambaran, who spoke on the matter via a statement over the weekend, noted that the government waited 9 months to disclose this loss, which is equivalent to almost 20% of the HSF's outstanding balance as at the end of September 2022. How long did you take, Mr. Rambaran, to tell the country that we were in recession? How long? When we know that the accepted definition of a recession is at least 2 quarters, consecutive quarters of negative growth. How much is a quarter? 6 months. 6 months, Mr. Rambaran. How many months did it take you to come out and tell the country that we were in recession? After the People's Partnership demitted office, right? So 9 months, you find 9 months was too long to disclose. But how many months did you take? So all your hypocrites forget these things. He said, think about that for a moment. It took 5 years for our HSF in its previous informal incarnation as the Interim Revenue and Stabilization Fund to build up a balance of over US 900 million. According to the former central bank governor, the rightful owners of the HSF are the citizens. He says the HSF is a national heritage fund created from excess energy revenue for the people of TNT. Therefore, we must have an interest in how much money is placed in the HSF, how much money is withdrawn from the fund, and for what purpose, how its resources are invested, and most importantly, what is the investment performance of the fund, Rambaran explained. Rambaran said, right. In the report, the chairman, Williams, said over the past 3 years, the HSF confronted a series of challenges that have tested its resilience and threatened its sustainability. These, Williams said, challenges included COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, among other factors. However, Rambaran said nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth, stating that events in the global financial markets have simply revealed the incompetence of the HSF board. And the former central bank governor said in this turbulent environment, the HSF board therefore must be adept enough to shield the fund from worst effects of the financial risks associated with such events. And this, Rambaran added, requires a proactive approach, constant monitoring of the markets, mature reflection, and deliberate judgment to act. That's Joala Rambaran, the former central bank governor, right? I wonder if Mr. Rambaran is aware of what I'm about to read here. Norway's giant sovereign wealth fund loses a record 164 billion, citing very unusual year. 2022. The same year that we lost 913 million US on our sovereign wealth fund, Norway, which has the largest sovereign wealth fund, if you want to call it the largest HSF in the world, suffered a loss of 164 billion US dollars. 164 times more than we lost, or 165 or more than what we lost. Norway's sovereign wealth fund on Tuesday reported a record loss of 1.64 trillion Norwegian krona, or 164 billion US dollars for the whole of 2022, citing very unusual market conditions. The so-called government pension fund Global, among the world's largest investors, returned negative 14.1% last year, which it said was 0.88 percentage points better than the return on its benchmark index. The market was impacted by war in Europe. Which war in Europe? The only war I knew about in Europe in 2022 was Russia and Ukraine, which the chairman of the Heritage and Civilization Fund mentioned as one of the reasons, but which Joala Rambaran, the man in whom the People's Partnership, the UNC, placed confidence to run the central bank, is telling you that is untrue, that was bollocks. Okay, so I guess this report from NBC is also bollocks. And the CEO of Norge's bank investment manager, he talking bollocks too. This negatively impacted both the equity market and the bond market at the same time, which is very unusual. All the sectors in the equity market had negative returns with the exception of energy. The fund's previous largest loss was 633 billion krona in 2008 amid the global financial crisis. The 1.3 trillion US dollar fund was established in the 1990s to invest the surplus revenues of Norway's oil and gas sector. To date, the fund has invested in more than 9,300 companies in 70 countries around the world. Norway's foreign ministry said it is fully aware of the responsibility that comes with its energy resources, right? So Norway's, and this is just one of several sovereign wealth funds from around the world. You could go and Google it and see that suffered significant losses. But I cited this one in particular because it is the largest in the world. 164 billion, not million, not thousand, $164 billion loss in 2022. This fund has the best fund managers, the best portfolio managers, the best wealth managers money could buy. The best in the world managing this fund. And yet still they were not able to avoid this significant loss of 164 billion US dollars. 2022. We suffered a loss of 903 million US investing in the same investment instruments that they invest in. We suffered a loss. And the UNC and the bright Joala want to tell you it is that only happened because of incompetence on the part of the board. He says so. Well, based on his logic, whoever managing Norway's sovereign wealth fund, the largest in the world, all you're incompetent. The former central bank governor of Trinidad and Tobago is saying you are incompetent, you are inept. All you don't know what all you're doing. You all don't know how to manage a sovereign wealth fund. Because Trinidad and Tobago, the fund managers of our fund lost 913 million through no fault of their own. But all they lost 160 something times that. So you all are 160 something times as incompetent and inept as the persons managing the Trinidad and Tobago Heritage and Civilization Fund. You all should be fired, dismissed forthwith. That's what he's saying. This excuse you all given about the Russia-Ukraine war and all of these things. Rubbish! Because he bright. He bright. And everybody else dotish. And he was there when it is the People's Partnership. As I told you all on Tuesday, decided to make it law to indemnify the board members of the HSF. So if the fund loses any significant amount of monies through poor management, or whatever it is, bad investments, that they cannot be sued by any other administration that comes in. That's them. That's what he's saying. But you see, they don't understand. That was a paper loss. A paper loss. So it's like you decide you want to buy shares in Republic Bank. You get a piece of money, a back pay. You say, let me look for a different type of investment there because the bank ain't really paying nothing. Them other investment houses ain't paying nothing of wood. So let me go and buy some shares in Republic Bank. And the day that you go, Republic Bank shares is $120. Right? So you say, all right, spending, go and buy 100 Republic Bank shares. And 6 months later, Republic Bank declares their half-year performance. And it wasn't what they expected. And let's say the share price dropped to $115. So on paper, you suffered a loss. You've lost $5 on each of the 100 shares that you purchased. So the value of your stock holding is now less 6 months later than what it was when you first purchased. The only way you would realize that loss is if you say, good, by now, by the public bank is doing good now. Let me run and sell my shares before the price falls further and I lose money. Once you sell your shares, you give up the opportunity for the stock price to rebound for you to make back your money and make profits. You need to stay invested. Understand that the equities market is extremely volatile. So hold your hand. Wait. And in the same way it dropped, is the same way it will go back up. Because Republic Bank is what you would call in Trinidad is a blue chip stock. If it was in the US, it's considered a blue chip stock. When you look at the type of profits that Republic, it's a stable bank, they're engaging investments, they're expanding. So this is a bank that you could rely on. You know, it's strong. So even if the share price falls a little bit, I'm pretty sure it's going to go back up because of the underlying performance. These are the things inherent on what causes the stock price to go up. But it is a paper loss unless you decide to dispose of your shareholding and you give up the opportunity for the stock price to go back up. And this is the same thing that happened with the Heritage and Civilization Fund. It was a paper loss. Some of the investment instruments inside there lost value, and rather than rebalance the portfolio too much, so well, let's adopt the wait and see approach. And sure enough, as things stabilized, the markets rebounded and recovered, we now see the fund has recovered. So we right back up there. We're still ahead of where we were when the People's Partnership left office in 2010. But they ain't going to talk about that in 2015, sorry. They ain't going to talk about that. You notice they're quiet. Nobody ain't talking about that. Shh. If it is, it was another loss. Oh, every one of them would have talked about that on the Monday night forum. We wouldn't hear the end of it, but not one word. When Mr. Tanku, Mr. Tanku, who is the best economist, the UNC Shadow Minister of Finance, where is he? You understand? Where is Darala Rambran? You had plenty to say when a loss came about. Now it is that you see second highest, Mr. Rambaran, since the inception of the fund. Where are you? You're on vacation? You're out of the country? You haven't read this report yet? Okay, we'll give you some time. Where is Ralph Maraj? You have anything to say, Ralph? Can we see in your article this Sunday that you will comment on that? Ralph, where art thou? Ralph, huh? Where? Problems with the internet? Like on Monday, you disappear, you had internet problems, so you couldn't come and answer Darian for that nonsensical report, that nonsensical article that you wrote on Sunday. Where are you? Where are the men and women of letters who always quick to come out and lambaste the government? Where are they? I ain't know there. The government reading the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. But yet, still, with all the withdrawals and so on that have been made, we're still in a better position than we were when they left office in 2015. But they might talk that. They might talk that. But put us back, put them back in office. Yeah? Put them back. Let me just tell you all and warn you all. As a result of COVID, the government was forced to amend the legislation, right? The circumstances under which they could make withdrawals from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund out of necessity, so that they could have waived the requirement under the old law to wait until the end of the financial year to see if any losses, if there was a shortfall in revenue, energy revenue, before they could take out money. Had they not done that, they would not have been able to withdraw money for COVID, right? To provide the assistance for COVID. So now, the law as it is allows the government to be able to go in at any time and make withdrawal. And I draw to your attention, the entire parliament voted in favor of that, to amend that law. The opposition and the government, right? So if all play fast and loose with your vote next year and put these folks inside, understand now, the safeguard that was there between 2010 to 2015 that prevented them from being able to go into the fund and take money is no longer there. That safeguard was removed out of necessity to give some of you all ungrateful salary relief grants, income support grant, all of you who double dip and get salary relief grant and income support grant, and who got support to pay your rent and all of these different things, right? When it was the money was slow in coming, every minute you go on Facebook, they lie, they say again, people, look how long I send him my thing, and me get nothing, and me get nothing. And as soon as money starts to run, you see how many people you saw come on Facebook to say, I get the money, you know, yeah, the money in my account. You don't want nobody to know you get it. You don't want nobody to know you get it. But when you was waiting for it, the whole country had to know every day you're on Facebook complaining. They lie, they say they get helping people, well, nothing. Almost over 100,000 of you all who got that assistance. Did we see 100,000 people come on social media and say they get? Right. But put them back. But understand now, that safeguard was removed out of necessity. So put them back inside it. Now they have free reign to go into the HSF fund and take out money. Understand? So I just put in that there for you all. Play fast and loose with your vote. The HSF was safe last time. Now, it's up for grabs. It's up for grabs. A word to the wise is sufficient. 7701763. I see it's already 8:15, and I have a 9:30 meeting this morning. Teams meeting. Very important meeting. Let me just switch this back here. No, I don't need to. It's already here. So, put this here. Just now, Jen. Let me see. Yeah, Jenny. Jenny.
Hi, Dominic. Morning.
Morning.
I want to all the listeners and callers of Facts and Stubborn Things. Again, I just send out condolences to all the parents, all the parents who would have lost babies in that tragic situation at the hospital. Mm-hmm. However, while saying that, and as you said, not trying to trivialize the issue, there are other hospitals in the Caribbean and in other countries would have had situations where they would have lost babies because of some type of bacteria or some infection. Mm-hmm. Because you're already there 18 in Jamaica at one time, and then 12 in Jamaica. And it's ironic that Jamaica would have employed also PAHO to do the investigations. So this government is on the right track. And as you said, they didn't call for the Minister of Health of Jamaica to resign. Or in fact, he did not resign.
Still there.
However, in Trinidad, under the Child's Fund, where nothing but 6 trillion was sent to Colombia, and they would have died.
Yes.
Farouk Khan was the Minister of Health at the time. And when he was asked, he said something to the effect it was cheaper to send them there. Now remember, they had the Children Life Fund, eh?
Yes, and also at the time, the head of the Children Life Fund said 6 lives lost out of over 100 saved is not too bad.
Exactly, but nobody had called for him to lose his license, medical license, or Minister Khan to lose his work.
Yes.
But again, when it's PNM is set at a different standard. I just want to quickly address Inshan Ishmael, because these fellows like to give an impression of things that may not be real. So he was in Miami. He was at Miami speaking about?
Yes.
I want him to know in Miami that he so enjoys everything working. What is not really working is the healthcare system, and I'll tell him why. The insurance, the health insurance that people have to pay every 3 months or every month or whatever it is very high. And if you don't have health insurance, you can run in Port-au-Spain like you just run in Port-au-Spain General and San Fernando and all the other hospitals and the one that is newly built and get health care. Or go to a doctor and get health care. You have to have insurance. So a lot of people, I understand, are walking around in Miami that haven't even seen a doctor for a long while, or even going to a hospital because they don't have health insurance. So that's certainly not working. I want to tell them the people who get Medicare in Miami, which is free health services and food cards and all that, is people who work nowhere, drug users and others. And that is putting a drain, I understand or told, on people who are paying taxes. Because the taxes those people pay are able to fund those people who don't work anywhere, who on whatever substances or whatever challenges they have in life. Not only that, the minimum wage sometimes is even lower than the wage should be. And those workers are not able to get health care. So a lot of them, I understand, may be more inclined to leave the work and go and get all the free services that it have to treat it again at the expense of those who are paying the taxes. He talk about things that they fall apart. I want to ask him if he went to 30th Street. It's right next to Busch Garden Theme Park. And if you're a visitor, you will visit there. I understand the main road there, it's a pothole, it's bumpy, it's rough. People losing the shocks and whatever the case may be. And that is right in Miami, where a lot of tourists, and he was a tourist, so I hope he went there because everything works in Miami. Food prices, well, food prices high. I understand there's a public grocery chain stores. Them thing ain't cheap at all. And if you want to go to the cheaper groceries, you run into the fact that you're getting things that close to the expire. The quality of the goods may not be the best standard. And you have to jump around from this grocery to this grocery. Not the same thing we just do in this country. Go and compare prices. So I don't understand how we fall apart here. And I'm finishing up, gas prices. I understand gas prices about $3.60-something a gallon, and sometimes it does raise a little more. And if you want to do a rough calculation, that's about $20-something TT. And I understand some people has come to some realization to themselves, that's their opinion, that when it comes to tax time, like the prices just go up. I don't know. I'm asking. Also, house owners have to pay property tax every year and house owners insurance every year. And sometimes for people to get an apartment because of minimum wage, because you can't get a good apartment and then small money. 3-4 people just come together as roommates to be able to help to pay for a proper apartment. And finally, in 2023, the Alice report, that is the asset limited income constraint employed. They would have done some extensive report that says that 488,180 people in Miami-Dade County are households that are either or in one emergency away from falling into poverty. So I don't understand how nothing works in Trinidad, everything works in Miami, and they have these challenges. Dominic, you have a blessed morning, and always thank you for allowing me to make my contribution. Everybody have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you. Let's see this here. University of Miami cost of attendance climbs by 5,000. Students to pay $93,000 next year. That is US, eh? All right. There are no gate there. They have all the oil and all the gas, right? But in here in Trinidad, they're telling you, you're supposed to provide subsidies because the oil and gas belong to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You have a look over there. Joe Biden is trying to forgive student debt, billions in student debt, and the Republicans only jamming him. Now, everything that he come up with, they're trying to block. So how the citizens benefiting? They're certainly not benefiting at the pumps. Wherever the price of oil is, they'll pay, right? But anyway, hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, that's what went on here. Hold your horses.
Okay, partner.
Leave it there. Oh, Lord.
Dominic.
Leave it there.
I came and look for my daughters. I'm in Miami.
You're in Miami?
Yes.
Nice. Did you drive on the I-75 or the I-95?
And in 95.
Okay, and how was the drive?
It's nice.
Yeah? How many toll gates?
Yeah.
How many toll gates you went through? Let the people know you had
toll gates on the
let
95.
the people know that you had to pay tolls, eh? It had no
toll gates on the 95?
But it have toll gates on the 95. What's going on with you? But what the hell is this?
Not as far as I reach.
Well, probably not as far as you reach. All right, no problem.
Right. I went on the HOV lane.
Okay.
You must know that.
Yes.
Hey, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Last time I spoke to you, I told you how they hung Mr. Charles out of office.
Uh-huh.
Let me call a few names here.
Uh-huh.
Zippy Lip Tracy. Quincy Devines. Mrs. Jack.
Oh, Lord.
And Mr. Calendar, who was in charge at the council across there.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic, they asked Ms. Angus for her support to get Mr. Charles out of office. And as they get Ms. Angus' support to hang him out of office, they kick out Ms. Angus. And because she looked to form her own party, Mr. Calendar want to expel she from the PNM. After she gave him her support to hang him out of office, Dominic, wicked set of people. And that's the kind of thing that I really encourage in Tobago. And Dominic, I ain't done yet, eh? I will leave it there for now.
Leave it there for now. Lord, Father. Oh my goodness. Hello, good morning.
Would the UNC take credit for the Grandy hospital?
I'm sure they'd find a way to do it.
Because the oil office for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing those preachers, those comedians, those walking hemorrhoids, they're going to take the credit for that. You see, the house is a built at the school. It's Parang,
Yes.
The school Parang, the wrong house, the wrong desk, and it is also the same thing. You know, thank God, Dominic, that things on record. They investigate because they always come with some lie. I want to find something. Carla's sister had a job with UNC government.
Well,
was she working before after? No dwelling. So the people have been heard from her between May 2010 and August 2015. What was her portfolio? Which ministry she worked with? UPS. What was her job? She's flying up and down like a bat out of hell. What was your job? And when did she begin to work? Before 2010 or when her sister became Prime Minister? You want to ask the question, Mulilal? Answer that. Because the amount of money she spent traveling with her sister is obscene. It's scandalous. It tantamount to fraud. If you had no job in any government office, who paid the airfare? And if you had a job in government, which department? How much vacation leave you have? Because if you now start working, you don't have much leave. You can't be traveling every single year. So, Mulila, you want to pay fast? Explain to us. What was Carla's sister portfolio? Which ministry she was in? And what was her first working day? Who gave my grandson to go to Brazil to watch football? It's kind of quiet. When she flew our helicopter from home to Portus to Pimulal, wasn't that scandalous too? She had police to guide the way for her, front and back, to make way for her. You couldn't drive to work on the roads. That was hard for you. Or sleep in Port of Spain. You wasted money. Pamela, I want my money back. Please. I demand my money back. You want to open your mouth to the last, you also open your other mouth. So you have to answer for every cent Kamala spent. When I play a game, we play a game just like you. Y'all have a good day. Be back later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seven 1761-763. That says no toll gates in the basement. Oh Lord, not easy, you know. Mario is saying, I'm glad we see how the 10 million is spent. Kurt is saying, thank you, Sister Jenny, the way some in our society try to keep us down, citizens don't fall for their tricks. That is so true. Always bad-mouthing the country, never anything good to say. Nothing positive. When good things take place, they have nothing to say. When anything negative, they will go to town on that for days. For days, they will go to town on that. All the people who were calling for... Anyway, let me not go down that road. Let me not go down that road. Let me leave that there. What Mama call us this morning? 7701763. Lisa Burton, morning to you. Say morning to Mr. Chance. Brian, where are you this morning? Good morning to Mr. Yates. Carol Myers. Carol, I'm working on that information for you that you requested yesterday. So Brian.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir. Morning.
Good morning to your listeners and callers. Dominic, I'm going to share a secret with you and your listeners and callers. It's not nice, but I will still share it.
Right.
Sometimes when I listen to the anti-PNM people, that's how I'm going to call it, the anti-rowdy people, I hope someday, and there's a bad hope, I know people will cuss me face, but it's okay. That's okay. I'm going to take the cuss this morning. Because maybe we need a dose of reality in this country. I hope one day the IMF takes over and all of the subsidies that we pay for gas and electricity and water and all those things are taken away from us. And we have to pay the true price. So when you go to fill your car with gas, you can tell you the bill is $700. You understand? When you have to travel from Port of Spain to San Fernando, from Arima to Port of Spain, you have to pay $100 and something, nearly $200. Because it is ridiculous how well off we are. I mean, yes, we have issues. I am not saying we don't. But to hear people go and complain and compare us to other countries where you have over 350 million people paying all the taxes. You understand? No subsidies. None whatsoever. And always bad talking the country of your birth. It pains me, it hurts me. I tell everyone that don't listen to some of them. Because I know they have nothing good to say about the country of their birth. They wouldn't leave here for good, you know. They want to let them pack their bags and go. Don't come back. But they will come here and day in, day out, they will bad talk Trinidad and Tobago. And that is my pain. And I wish one of these days, when we're in the hands of the IMF, they hit us for 6. And that $5.5 billion that we pay in social welfare for certain people and all those food cards and all of that will just come to an end. And you don't have the money, that's your business. But you will pay the true price of your water bill. You'll pay the true price of the electricity rate. You'll pay the true price of your gas bill. Let people understand how much money this government has to pay out every year in billions of dollars so that we can enjoy life as it is in Trinidad and Tobago. Because either we just take it for granted or we just so hate this government because they ain't gain we nothing in we hand. For we to just go and spend it out and drink it out. That want them to go and bring in people who go, don't mind they go thief, but we go get a little thing. That is the excuse. That is the rationale. That is the reasoning. I'm fed up. I've listened to people like Inchman, Ishmael, and these other people. Fed up of them. You understand? Because they compare, look at who you're comparing us with. United States of America. 1.4 million people. You're comparing us with the United States of America that could print money every Monday morning. And as the Minister of Tourism has said, for us to make money, we have to either sell something or tax. That's the only way. Otherwise, we have no foreign exchange, no revenue coming in. USA could say, hey, an act of their Congress, let's print more money. And they give some to Israel, they give some to Ukraine. We can't do that. But people get on their high horse and they talk their BS as if things so bad in Trinidad and Tobago. As much as we try to explain, and the thing is they lie so much. John Gill's still waiting on the list from Gopi Singh for where these schools are that he say he built. He's still waiting on the list. Every time I see him, I say, you get the list from Gopi Singh yet? No boy. Still waiting on the list. It's because they lie so much that they begin to believe their own lies. 106 schools. They can't make up their mind how much it is. Some of the so-called people who support them don't even know how many. Can I tell them where is school bill? Which part? Identify the school. They can't identify the school. The former Minister of Education, that Mr. Gati, was able to call the names of the schools that were built. Kim Gopi Singh still can't call one school. Not one. But he built 106 schools. And they built 3 hospitals. When Kamala Prasad Princessa went to open the Kuvok Children's Hospital, as she called it, the road leading up to the hospital was not even completed. It failed, if you recall. The equipment that they had in the hospital could not be used because it was not set, for want of a better word. That bringing somebody from outside to set up the equipment because it could not be used, if you recall. The minister said so. Because if they go to use it, they will kill people. And these are some of the things that pains me when I listen to these people. As you rightly say, they turn the sun and they say, well, okay, we build that. All because they want to get a name on a plaque. They want to see the name up in lights. One man vexed because he couldn't get a name on a school. He walked out.
Yes.
Imagine that. He walked out because he vexed because he couldn't get a name on a school. And they come out to tell us, but I wasn't really too concerned about that. You know? That's not really my concern. I don't need my name on any school or anything like that. Really? But then why you walk out at the meeting? And these are some of the things that irk me. This government has tried, this prime minister has gone out there and brought back money for us in the billions. It cannot be refuted. But this morning on my TV, I had to listen to Kevin Ramnarai because their concern on the news this morning is that today is the 18th of April. And them still asking the question whether or not we're going to lose the OFAC license. So they call Ramnarai to ask Ramnarai that. And Ramnarai he's so ashamed. He couldn't even answer the question directly. He couldn't even say yes or no. He go all along the mulberry bush. Because they don't even want to believe what the Minister of Energy was indicating, that our license is different to those who have a license that would expire today. The Prime Minister has explained ad nauseum that we have a license until October 31st, 2025. But still, they called Kevin Ramnarai this morning on my TV to ask about that license and what's going to happen today if we're going to affect us. So they don't even believe the Prime Minister. They don't even believe the Minister of Energy. That is where we are in this country. It's easy to believe a lie and to absorb a lie. Up to this week, Kamala Prasad said the same thing. Although she knew better, or she ought to have known better. But that is how we are in this country. As much as we explain to these people, they just simply don't believe. They just want to, they don't believe, they don't want to believe. So they say, oh, the lie is just to explain away, but let me accept that. And that's where we are. That is where we are. I've been to Miami, I've been to the hospitals, and I just tell you, the first thing I ask you is, the woman asking me is, where's the insurance? Where's the insurance? She asked me, what wrong with me now? She said, you have insurance? She asked me about our appointment. Where's the insurance? Where's the insurance? I can't talk to you unless I see your insurance. Where's the insurance? I said, lady, listen to me. That was supposed to be handled. No, I'm not seeing your insurance. Where is it? And fighting me down for insurance. She asked me, what's wrong with me? Where's Lawton? What's up? She hear the accent, but she don't care. All she cared about was, where's the insurance? Where's the insurance? I said, Mom, please, I have an appointment. I want to know where's your insurance? Where? I said, oh God, Lord Father, better go up for that spin, boy. And that is what you have to face when you go to these countries. But they wouldn't talk about that. No, they won't. And they know better because they travel too. As you rightly said this morning, for those who travel and see and experience. I told you I took a cab to go to Sawgrass Mall. And stupid me decided that the mall so big. I said, look, I leave and I'm going back to my hotel. Stupid me jumping in a cab 4 o'clock. Well, that Haitian woman carrying me all along the mall, very well. And when she done, she dropped the bill on me, and I thought she may have paid that woman. She can't pull aside one time.
You get catch?
She said, what? I said, lady, I can't pay that bill. That bill is $750. She said, excuse me, wait, I said, hold on, I'll pay a bill. And why she wasn't going a step further. You understand? So these are some of these things that you have to experience to understand what is really, how compare us to them, and how much this government pays in bills to assist us and to help us to exist, to live. $5.5 billion in social welfare every single year that we have to put out to assist our people. That's what we do. Our food bill is close to nearly $7 billion in port. Nobody is talking about that. All of the other bills that this government has to pay, the Honorable Minister of Finance spoke about it the other day. You think they listen to that? You think they're taking it on? They don't care about that. Remember this? I heard a man yesterday on a radio station saying that because why should you have to pay $1,000 for a broken light bulb on your car? He find that ridiculous. That's too high. Let one break. You go to Miami and let the police aside with one break, and you can see what happens. You can see where Bali grew. You know, some of the idiotic things I have to be listening to, and people still complain on a daily basis in Trinidad and Tobago. When you can go to any little grocery, Sister Jenny said, you can go to any grocery, and if you don't like it here, go to another one, you buy whatever you need to get. And we can still live. But we complaining that all things so bad in Trinidad and this and that. I know that I understand the pain of those who lost their babies. I understand that, and they are justified in having their matter aired and heard and compensated. I don't know how much you can compensate for the death of maybe your firstborn or the only child you may ever have. I don't know, but it's painful, and I understand that. That's why I don't talk much about it. I understand clearly. You understand? For those who are in it, it's painful. But what about those who have lost their child because a man sliced open a baby and during a cesarean section? This should be compensated too. But we have doctors who, of course, charge $14,000 for drug trafficking and still had to work in Trinidad. In America, I think that he would have been a goner. He would have lost his license. We don't talk about these things. And Dr. Jagannath, he's still calling him doctor. They're still calling him doctor. And he admitted guilt before the court. And I certainly still have his license. One cross away, people that look like you and me, and still have and boasting. And they could pay for you and me and still have the license. And this is some of these things that hurt me and irk me. So me to listen to these people is a crying shame. But what do? We have to suck up and move on and ensure that when time 2025 comes around, time to vote, I know why he's sticking, according to you, my whole finger and my whole arm. I know why he put in it. Because I believe in this government and what this Prime Minister is doing for us and what he has done. I could compare it. It's apples and oranges when you compare 2010 to 2015. People still forgetting. Is it $33 billion out of the exchequer? that nobody don't talk about anymore. How much money they spent in 2015 leading up to the election? In last week, leading up to the election, $10.6 billion, as you said. 10.6 in 1 week. Nobody don't talk about that. Nobody wants to know where it comes from. But you have a Governor General of the Central Bank saying when you had 3 days money. Hide it until the government changes. This is what we have to live with in Trinidad and Tobago. Look at where we came from. This government came from 8.5 years ago to where we are today. We should be saying thank God and praying for the health and strength of the Honorable Prime Minister and his team. But we don't do that. We believe that is, hey, that your work, you do your work, and we take it for granted that very what we're supposed to get. Really? I want to go and live in Miami and see how it is. Have a good day, Dominic. Take care.
You too, sir. Jenny.
Yeah, Dominic, just quickly, because international have opened the door about falling apart. Do you know about Colored Green or Miami Gardens?
Yes.
Okay, is that a place that you would go to as a tourist to visit and want to live?
Nope.
Okay, so that is falling apart in Miami. It's Trinidad, right? I want to ask him to, asking you because you travel a lot also. Is the capital of Florida Tallahassee?
Correct.
So why is not Miami? If Miami is falling apart, Miami is supposed to be the capital of Florida. So it tells you something definitely wrong. So when they go across there, because it's like them don't understand it have technology and we have family, we have friends who live all over the world that we could just call quickly on WhatsApp or whatever and get the information one time and make them look so foolish and stupid. So I don't see how Trinidad falling apart when they could go in any one of the hospitals despite the very tragic situation that happened with the babies. And that is not a common thing. We have been able to have a mortality rate really low. And this has happened, and I hope they get to the bottom of it. But you can walk to any one of the government hospitals. You don't have to have insurance and sit down in casualty. And when the doctor see you, you could get X-ray. They could put you on nebulizer. They could get your heart medication. They could put you, they could all free of charge. Because most of them who making use of the hospital don't pay health surcharge. And health surcharge cannot compensate for people who are the only people that go to this institution. So again, isn't that on the state? So how it has been falling apart? Whereas people walking around in Miami, for years they go to the hospital because they can't afford insurance. For years they see a doctor because they don't have the insurance. And I understand, I don't know what you are going to live there, that plenty of them will go back to the homemade local remedies to help in this situation because they can't afford health insurance. So we're falling apart. International them need to be understand. You don't have to like PNM, you don't have to like Dr. Rowley or Kamla, whatever. But at least report the truth to people. This is not the days when you'll come back and speak to the illiterate people who haven't gone to school, can't read and write, don't have a telephone, don't have a TV, don't even have a radio. And people go, oh God, he come back from foreign, what you bring for me? And make you feel that the streets in America is paved in gold and milk and honey flows from the pipe. And we will debunk it, and that is what this program is about. Thank you again, Dominic.
Thank you, Jen. Not only that, Jenny wouldn't tell you about, there are countless examples I have seen of persons in the US who are diabetics and who have died because they have to ration their insulin. So if it is they're supposed to take a certain amount in the morning or they're supposed to take the insulin twice for the day, the amount that they should be taken in the morning, that is what they're taking for the whole day. So they take half in the morning and half in the evening so they could stretch their insulin, hoping that it could last until payday because the cost is so high. The cost is exorbitant. I read another story about a young lady who was ill. She had an infection and couldn't afford the antibiotics. So she went to a veterinary clinic and they gave her some antibiotics for a horse. And of course, the dosage that she took, because this is for horse, the dosage that she took, it was so high, she still ended up in the hospital, almost overdosed. and ended up with a hefty hospital bill. The same thing she was trying to avoid, right? So when you don't have insurance, you don't have, yes, whereas they stop the toe here, and they could, my toe hurting me, so I'm going to go buy monk toe. And they fix you up and give you a prescription, and then you go down to the dispensary, and it ain't cost you nothing. But always want to lambaste the health sector here. How much billions it is given the health ministry. The majority of that going into paying salaries. You see, that's what they need to start doing, giving you a breakdown of how this money is spent. So when people see, hey, the health ministry get 5 billion or they get 6 billion, understand how much of that going to paying salaries and human resource expenses. How much of that going to pay for equipment, to buy equipment for the hospital, to buy vehicles, to upkeep vehicles, and all of these different things to give to the RHAs, because it's not just the nurses and doctors they pay. The regional health authorities also, they have a board and they have an executive management team. All of these people have to be paid. They have buildings that the RHAs operate out of, an admin building that they had to pay rent for. So when they figure out all this money that goes to the ministry is strictly for the purpose of healthcare, it is not. There is not enough money to be able to do all of these things. Let me see who we have. Yes. Hello, good morning.
Yes, Tom.
Yes, ma'am.
I was in the States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allergy, I had travel insurance. I was very coming high. The EpiPen cost me $500 US for one dose. When I travel, I have insurance, travel insurance.
Right.
And I had to buy medicine outside. You look at coming high from head to toe. I had to buy medical shampoo because my head had hives. When you go to the States for dental care, make sure
yes,
you have plenty of money, because my girlfriend comes and her teeth don't care. Two false teeth cost her $4,000 US. To clean your teeth is $300 US to clean your teeth. I call it $2,100 TT dollars. The clear teeth down here was $8 TT dollars to clean your teeth. You come every couple of years with dental care here. When the hospital in the States, walk with your pampers, your water, and a sheet, unless you have insurance. People who are private, like taxi drivers, double vendors, they pay taxes. We all pay VAT. Do you pay health insurance? Do you pay this one in the hospital? Do you pay NIS? Do you pay health charge? But you complain. If you want better health care, go back and pay health charge from day one.
Yes.
And pay it all. If you want old age pension, contribute to the nation. Don't sit on your empty backside and talk to other cleaners. We like freeness. The country hard, but if you watch earlier today on Look, in South Avenue hotel, how it happened? The economy bad. How is bad? The hotel have been built. Price smart, expanding. Export have a new place in a wrong word. Economy bad. If here so bad, go to the glass, to put the sun in a one-way trip and leave here. You're back talking in the land of your birth. You have those people down there. Rory Pyramid, the black man. How dare he be black? How dare he be Oreo? Say master name, amount of something, I know. The envy have them blind. They hate and the racism and the evil. We'll never see Rory Pyramid as a good person. Those are the drivers who complain about the road. You couldn't work. When they complain, you cry, shut down. Then they say pay amount, you cussing, give you money in your pocket. Because you couldn't pay the bank, right? When there was no transportation to people, there was country shut down. Who help you out? Who helped you? By giving you a little kakada. It may be a cent, but a cent more than you had before. As for the mine, she got money twice as a person. Right now, we're enemies. I just own her in a heartbeat. Because you always want. Is the country perfect? No, you know why? Because we are perfect people. Could PM do some things? Yes, he can. But it's on you and I to make our country better. Don't litter. Don't jaywalk. Don't spit in your road. You see a crime? Call it privately. We are part of the nation's downfall. But the complaining and the hate. I must make a difference in my life. I must have self-control and morals and carry information and into the roads. Good morning, ma'am. Are you lying? Simple things we do not hold ourselves accountable for. We always blame the entities, the outside powers, but we are to blame for ourselves. Look at Pajita Amin, okay? The man hit in her face. What do you prove? You made no report, right? I want to believe you. Look at her complexion. She's fair, okay? Get hit in her face. Where is the black and blue mark? You made no reports. I want to believe you. You knew what he was. He had 2 gun charges, but they put himself like that. Look at PNM calls. Ready? Choose the one man you're sleeping with. I'm going to give my later.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Dominic!
Leave it there. You just look for elixir.
You know I don't like the call twice.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Dominic, you know it has something they call persona non grata.
Uh-huh.
Some of them do want them in America. So they vex with people who just travel.
Oh Lord, leave it there.
Like me and you, but they ain't gonna tell you that.
Leave it there, leave it there.
Hey Dominic, that I like you, don't worry. There's something else, you know. Hey Dominic.
Uh-huh.
Those names I call for you.
Uh-huh.
They are the people who's supposed to choose the people to represent the PNM in an elections.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Tracy say, we are the best three to represent the PNM. Dominic, they're supposed to choose the people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Tracy say, we are the best three to represent the PNM. What happened to them? Huh? All of them get blows.
Oh Lord.
It's about a gentleman by the name of Mr. Calendar. He win elections for the PNM already in Tobago, Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave him out. Investigate that. Dominic, they leave the man out. He win elections for the PNM in Tobago. And Tracy and him leave him out. The same way they did Miss Angus.
Oh,
and Dominic, I ain't done yet, eh?
Uh-huh.
I will leave it here for now.
Leave it there. Oh, Jesus, man is something else, you know. Even though when you come back to Trinidad, we had a meetup and sit down and talk. So you can tell me what's the real reason you're vexed with Dr. Rowley. All right, so let me know when you come back to Trinidad. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Morning.
Morning. Well, I swear you want to take my call because I call in because it's a strange number. Me understand that. You legally calling 3 and 4 times talking at the time. Uber. Anyway, good morning, Mr. Roman. Good morning to all the listeners and the followers of facts and stubborn things. I must just say, I want to piggyback on what Jenny and Brian and all the last callers have said. No, I have an issue with the Oropuch Pussycat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want to question Dr. Rowley
travel expenses over the last 4 years. But let me joggle your memory, and I want answers, or if you care to give us evidence of what your former leader, Prime Minister / leader of the so-called uncivilized National Crooks Party, right? Right. The Saparia bat would have flew all over the world in the last 2.5 years when she was in office, right? Right, we going. She would have went to Miami and Jamaica July the 4th to the 8th, 2010, with an expense of $40,235. So in that 4 days in July in 2010, she spent $40,235 of taxpayers' money, right? We're going again. New York, August the 13th to the 22nd of that same year, 2010, she spent $45,480 of our taxpayers' money, right? That is about a week she spent in New York. She went back to New York again in September that same year and spent 8 days, September 20th to 28th, amassing $47,203 of taxpayers' money. Washington, she went November the 8th to the 10th, 2 days in 2010, and spending $21,783 of taxpayers' money. London, March the 12th to the 21st, 2011, $60,444 taxpayers' money. Washington, April the 4th to the 9th,
Eric, I know what happened there. That wasn't me. That was not me. Well, in any event, it's 9 o'clock, folks. So thank you all so much for joining me. Andel George says, no benefit to Trinidad and Tobago at all. That is so correct. So correct. Pamela says, get rid of this man. Why you entertaining? Mr. Calendar is finished with politics. He made that clear. So leave it at this. You're lying. Yeah, so, well, anyway.
Dominic, sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
My next own body conditioner.
Oh, okay.
Right. Continuing where I left off. Washington, April 4th to the 9th, 2011, $32,022. Brazil, April 24th to May 1st, 2011, $21,881. St. Kitts, July 1st to the 3rd, 2011, $11,464. New York again. Now you see, she went to New York three times in 1 year, right? September 19th to the 30th, $15,826 taxpayers' money. Australia, October 19th to the November 7th was the most expense of taxpayers' money, amounted to $338,329 taxpayers' money. And the final one that put in the coffin, she went India in 2012 from January 2nd to the 17th, amassing $12 million of taxpayers' money. So in all, in that 2 years and a half that the Saparia bat went and fly all over the world, she spent $12,634,613 taxpayers' money. I want Rudan Monilal to question that. What benefit that she, as the Prime Minister then, brought to this country? But you don't want to talk about Dr. Rowley spent $10 million for the last 4 years? Monilal answer that question. Other than that, don't try to be relevant in people's face or people's head. You understand? Because all you just forget people, all you feel, people forget what transpired under you all. But I will remind you all what transpired. I have more to Dominic, but I will do that for another day.
Thank you, sir. And with that, folks, I have to take my leave. I have a 9:30 meeting. So thank you all so much for joining me. Sunday we will chat again. I don't know. Again, I keep saying we will talk Brent Thomas, and I know I keep saying that for the past so much days, but Sunday we will deal with it. Right? It's just when you think you have a certain number of things to talk about, more stuff keeps popping up. Okay? So enjoy the rest of today. Make it a productive one, as always, and we will chat again, God's willing, on Sunday morning. So keep safe over the course of the next few days. That's it for me today. Thank you so much, Mario. I try my best to make sure that the show is worthy of your viewership. Yeah, not a propaganda, but as I leave, Eric, I apologize, but I see the Doglaya finally block the debunking page. Yeah, I can't access it. I can't access his Dogla politics page again from the debunking. The last comment I dropped on him, I guess it was too much. He couldn't take it. So finally say enough is enough. Let me block them. But don't worry, we will fix that. Folks, thank you so much. All of you guys on Facebook and on YouTube. Till Sunday.